Welcome back to the Sisterhood Society podcast. Today, we are giving you an extra bonus episode to go. Why are you looking at me so funny? We are dropping 2 podcasts this week rather than just one. So we launched our one about our book club that's launching this month. And in addition to that, we just thought we would give you another thought-provoking, silly, random question episode. So yes, here we are. We're also going to keep track of our time so that we don't ramble, because it really bothers Whit when we ramble.
I just really love structure.
So I'm starting the timer right now.
Thank you.
Does that structure make you feel better?
It does. I feel really relieved. I think we'll be okay.
Okay. So
I think it turns out that the Sisterhood can't get enough of us, and so we just felt like we needed to give them an extra little snack to consume until our next episode.
Because Kate's presence is a gift.
It is a gift.
So first up, we're going to talk about what's good in the sisterhood. So Kate, you want to start us off?
I would love to, because I have a great thing to share. I am a local dog hero. And
A local dog hero.
well, I should say I'm a local hero, and I saved some dogs yesterday. So I was out on my...
Yes, because a dog hero does sound a little... Okay, go ahead.
I was out on my 75 hard walk, as one does, and I was thinking, what was I doing? I was listening to a podcast, and all of a sudden these 2 dogs side by side are just running towards me up a hill. And I noticed, obviously, that there was no owner with them, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think that they have, like, gotten out. And
Were they attached to each other?
No, that's the weirder thing. And, yeah, and only one of them was wearing a collar. That was what was even weirder. So I was like, hopefully they belong to the same owner.
They didn't just pick up a stray along the way.
He's like, come on, buddy, let's go. We're escaping. So I didn't even tell this story on Instagram because I wanted to save it for the podcast. But I was like sprinting after them. I was like, puppies, because I didn't know their name. And I was like, stop running. And I'm like, I'm sure if someone saw me doing this was pretty hysterical. But finally, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to stop them because I don't have a leash and I don't know their names. So they're not responding to something I'm saying. And the faster I run, the faster they run because they think I'm chasing them. So it's like a funny game. Finally, I get the bigger one. The little one wasn't wearing a collar. It was like a chocolate or a lab and like a little corgi guy. And anyways, I called the number. I'm totally out of breath. And the lady's like, hello. And I'm like, I think I have your dogs. And she was like, oh my gosh, I've been driving around for 2 hours looking for them. And she was like, where are you? So I stayed on the phone with her until she got there, but they kept running. So I was like holding on to the collar of one while I'm trying to like corral the other one. I was like, what's the little one's name? And she's like, Maddie. So I'm like, Maddie, damn it, stop running. Like I'm like sprinting after this other dog while I have the collar and the other one because I don't know how to like corral both at the same time. I figured out the exchange from start to finish was only 7 minutes, but it felt like 2 hours. Like I was only on the phone with her for 4 minutes before she actually came and got them. But yeah, I was just thinking about that movie, The Butterfly Effect, when like, you know, if you made a decision like a couple minutes later.
Where is this going?
It's got real philosophical.
It's really this deep, you guys, because I was like, what if I went on my walk earlier? Where would those dogs be? You know? So I
probably would have picked up a couple more friends along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, they could be over at Starbucks having a little latte, enjoying their evening. But I was just thinking about that. I was like, what if these dogs, they were running towards a very, very busy street. That's why I was stressing out, because the hill they were running up was more of like a neighborhood hill. But if they would have gone up to Edmondson, which is like a corner, it's like a super busy road. And people, it's like super twisty-turvy, and people go really fast. So.
How far away did the owner live from you?
Just like 2 minutes. Like she was there in like a flash. That's what I'm saying. I was only on the phone with her for 4 minutes. So anyways, I am a hero.
A local dog hero.
I'm a local dog hero. I felt so good about myself afterwards. I was like, you guys, I just saved these dogs' lives. Okay.
Do you feel like Paw Patrol?
Yes. I've actually never seen Paw Patrol, so I guess I can't speak to that. But I'll say this and then we'll move on. When I lived in East Nashville, a dog was running on my street at night, and I was with a group of my friends, and we were out on a walk, and he was super hyper. He was like a little something, like a little mutt, and we tried to capture him so that we could call the owner, but we couldn't corral him, so we named him Jack. And we were like trying to get Jack, but he just like kept running. Life posted on the Facebook page, and someone in the neighborhood witnessed him getting picked up by a construction worker. And it has haunted me ever since that I didn't save Jack. So I was like, I have to save Bella and Maddie because I didn't save Jack. So anyways, that's my hero story.
What about you, Whit? That's good.
I got my favorite coffee this morning. Actually, Isaac got it for me. And that just sets my day right off, guys.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great day.
She sat down and she was just sitting at her desk, just chuckling away to herself. I was like, what's so funny over there? She's like, I'm just thinking about my questions that I got for you guys.
Okay, my questions aren't funny. It's just what I envision you responding with is hilarious.
Looking forward to it.
Moving on.
Well, we are leaving for Nashville on Friday, so I'm busily trying to get ready for that, but I think it'll just be fun to have a week like all together.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of podcasting will happen, or maybe not. We'll see. I think it's going to be a busy week. With a lot going on.
We have big plans for next week.
We have big plans. Brecken has given us a list of things that she wants to do while she's in Nashville. Last year, she had a whole itinerary for us, and this year is the same.
What is the list?
We're going to Sound Waves, to the indoor water park, and
yes.
we are also going to a place called Urban Air that's apparently like a jump park. And then she wants to go back to that park in Franklin that they liked last year.
Oh yeah,
and then
about that.
She would like to go to Spark, which was where they did like the glass beads and stuff, but I feel like that's
I'd prefer not, because we still have like the boys just floating around the house, and I'm like, what do I do with this?
And we did another one like in Florida that we don't need all the extra stuff, but she'd also like to go to the milkshake place, so she has big plans.
I love her big plans.
Yes.
They make me
Brecken is Tara reincarnate basically, and she's come back to it's payback's a what, so that's what my parents keep telling Tara.
She yes, exactly. Well, she plans her birthdays like a good 11 months in advance, and then she asks how close her birthday is coming. Now that she kind of understands months and days, like it's a little bit better. But we had this, like, she just would bug me all the time about when her birthday was. And I finally, or Christmas, it was Christmas. And we were in the car and I was like, babe, we just need to focus on like having a good time and being good people and like being good to others and helping other people out. Like presents are not like the focus of the season. Like when Christmas rolls around, we'll have them, but like, that's not like the focus in life or whatever. And she's sitting back there and she's like this. And she's like, yeah, but presents are pretty awesome. And I was like, felt like nothing thought I was really getting through to her, and then nothing. So
she's like, I hear what you're saying, but also gifts,
But she was telling Riv, this has probably been like a good 9 months ago. I think it was before the last birthday, and then we didn't do it. She was saying that she wants to have a blue birthday because it's a pool party and the pool's blue, and she wants everybody to dress in blue clothing, and she wants it to be like this marine theme. And Riv was like, I don't have any blue shoes. And she was like, she wanted everybody to dress from head to toe blue. And she was like, I will make an exception. You can wear normal shoes, but the rest of your outfit needs to be blue. I was like, wow, she drives a hard bargain.
I was going to say, she's also so literal like you, because you're very literal. So it just makes me laugh that she's like literally a chip off the old block.
Which is funny because Briley's usually my literal child. But yes.
That's pretty funny. One of my favorite stories about Brecken is me and my mom took the night shift the first night that you guys got home, and you guys forgot to buy pajamas. So like Brecken was just in her little onesie that she came home from, and we used the swaddle, and she was no more than 24 hours old, and she broke her hands out of her swaddle. Like when I was watching her, my shift was from like midnight to 4 or something like that, and then mom was like 4 to 8, and I was like, I cannot believe this newborn child just like popped her hands out of her swaddle and was like, I cannot be contained.
It wasn't even a blanket swaddle. It was one of those ones that you like.
Yeah, like Velcroed down. And she popped her hands out and was like, I cannot be contained. Yeah. So anyways, that shows her personality.
Mm-hmm, it does. That's exactly how she is. Okay, should we get right to it?
Yes,
Let's
please.
dive right in.
Since you love your questions, would you like to start?
Okay, the one that I'm like laughing in my head about what your response is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to ask the question.
Okay.
But before the person answers, before each of us answers, I want us to guess what their pump up song is going to be. So the pump up song, like, what is the song that just like gets you jazzed?
Oh, I don't know if you guys are gonna know my answer, but I'll try to guess yours.
I think I know what yours is. You guys will not know what mine is, but okay. So I'm gonna guess Tara's as being "Living on a Prayer."
I love a good "Living on a Prayer."
And then Kate's, I think, is it Aretha Franklin or "This Will Be"?
Yep, "This Will Be an Everlasting Love" by Natalie Cole. I just had this
Natalie
conversation
Cole.
with Phil like 2 days ago in the car, and I was like, I think this is my favorite song of all time, and he was like, really? I was like, yeah. Just really
See, that wouldn't be my favorite song of all time, but I would say it's your
pump up song. So I got yours right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
I mean, that's what I
amazing.
would probably say it is. Yeah.
I love that you
But I played it. I played it in that video.
I didn't realize that, but I totally guessed that.
You didn't remember that I played it in that
No.
video? Because you're always like, why do you always use "Living on a Prayer" when you are dancing?
Really? Oh, maybe it's subconscious. That's hilarious.
Whitney, is yours "Brooklyn" by Patrick Droney?
No, but I love that song.
Oh, okay.
See, this is a conversation.
Tara will
that
not know
I was
mine.
gonna say I don't have any.
Okay, give me a hint.
Oh, I don't even know how to hint at it. It's a band.
So it's not a worship song.
No.
Is it "Viva La Vida" by Coldplay? Is
You're
it a
not gonna
Coldplay
get it.
song?
No.
It's a band? Okay, I don't know.
Berenstein by the band Camino.
Oh, okay. I would have never guessed that, but I could see that. I was just going to say that would have taken me forever to get to that point. I was going like vintage music, Whitney, but you listen to so many different things, it's hard to keep track.
I listen to two different genres, Kate. One is worship and one is indie music.
Yeah, but I know, but like indie can change all the time, so I feel like that's hard to keep up with.
Indie is like all over the place.
I have one. Here's my question for all of us, and I was trying to think of what the answer would be, but it said, does your family have any weird traditions?
Weird traditions?
I mean, does National Cheese Day count?
Well, I'm talking about like us five. Yeah.
The Huber five.
We don't really have traditions besides going on vacations.
Yeah, I don't feel like we have anything weird.
Yeah. Our family's not really that weird.
Our family, well, I feel like we're relatively traditional, like when it comes to traditions.
Oh, we couldn't get our ears pierced until we were 15.
Is that
That's not a weird tradition.
We couldn't
That's
date.
just called our dad being very strict, being the dad of 3 daughters.
I still am not allowed to get a tattoo.
Yeah, we were like
5.
supposed to wear clear mascara till we were like 18. I'm like, no. I was trying to think. I feel like Phil's family has tons of traditions or like idiosyncrasies that they do that like have been the same way since they were really little.
Yeah.
Like
I
when
don't do anything like that.
when they would have Christmas morning, the 3 boys would have to sit on the top stair, and they had to take a picture before they came down the steps to open their gifts. And Phil's grandma was there this year, and she wanted us to do it like with the wives, and I was like, but we don't fit. It was just really funny.
I mean, we always do Christmas on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, but that's not weird.
No, but it's different.
We didn't have anything like specific that we did for every single birthday or every single holiday. I feel like Dad was always really good about doing stuff for Valentine's Day, like sending us flowers or sending us something at school. Like he always made sure that I had like balloons or something at school to make me feel special.
I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice because I never really got like tons and stuff.
Yeah,
of
same.
School.
Especially because if you weren't dating in high school, then who do you get something from?
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't date in high school.
Our dad used to do like, well, I don't know if Tara was around as much for this when we were in high school because I think you were back in Illinois by this point, but when me and Whitney were growing up in California, my dad used to do like, I think it was like every other Friday we'd go to a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And he would rotate and he would say, okay, is it chick flick or do we blow stuff up? Like it was always like we had to go see like an action movie with him, and we would rotate back and forth, and then he would go to a chick flick with us, because that was like back when chick flicks like still were a thing. I feel like they don't exist anymore.
Well, now I feel like they don't even release movies anymore. Like, can you imagine going to a movie every Friday? Like,
there was one time Dad and I got to the movie theater early, and we ended up buying a ticket for a movie that had already started. And then when the movie that we wanted to go see started, we snuck into that one. I mean, it was Dad's idea. So Dad and I snuck into a movie together. I thought that was hilarious. And I don't remember why it was just me and him, but yeah, it's kind of funny.
That's funny.
It's not probably a tradition, but one thing that we used to always do is when we would drive to Grandma and Grandpa's house, we would always stop part of the way for gas, and we would always get snacks, or like we would stop and get Dairy Queen.
That still happens. Yeah. Ice cream or a load of.
But I just always remember, like, one of the first times when Brian and I went to Indiana together for Huber Christmas, he wasn't like stopping, and I was like, this is what we do. Like, we have to, like,
there's no snacks. What?
Like, why aren't we stopping and getting snacks?
A year ago, Phil's Jeep broke down at a gas station, but he had to go to a studio session. Do you guys remember the story? And so Dad met up with us at the gas station, and literally we had to wait on like a tow for like 2.5 hours. So me and Dad just sat in his car in the parking lot for 2.5 hours. He went into the gas station to buy snacks like 6 different times, and every time he'd be like, do you want anything? I'm like, no, I'm good. And he'd come back with like a bag. Like first it was like ice cream bars, and then he had like bought Mambas, like, which he always used to buy Mambas when we'd go to church. And then he'd come back and be like, okay, I'm gonna go get a Diet Coke. And he's like, well, I'm gonna go in to pee, do you want a bottle of water? And like literally went back and forth. And I put on Instagram, I was like, I live here now, please forward my mail to the Speedway on Gallatin Avenue. Me and my dad will be here. Oh my gosh. Anyways.
Well, the funny part about that drive to Indiana is it's only 2.5 hours. So the halfway point is only like an hour and 15 minutes. And so that's what was funny about it, is when I was like, why aren't we stopping for snacks? And Brian's like, we just ate like an hour ago. I'm like, but you don't understand this. We have to like stop and get snacks.
That's funny.
But it is funny to think that that was like tradition. If it wasn't McDonald's, it was Dairy Queen, or it was stopping and getting snacks at a grocery store. I mean,
I was just going to say, what's your first question?
My first question is, what's something that you did as a kid that you wished you didn't? Like, it makes you cringe now.
Or my gosh.
Like, it was something.
I can't think of anything. These types of questions are hard for me to come up with.
You want
on
me
the
to
fly.
go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So this wasn't, I was old enough to like not be doing this. This is why it's cringy. So I would, for whatever reason in high school, I started writing down what I wore to school every day, because I didn't want to repeat the outfit for at least a minimum of 2 weeks. So I would write them all down every single day. So I had like a calendar, like book that I would like keep it. And I took it with me to college. And so every night, like the first year, freshman year, I roomed with our cousin Rebecca. And so we would like lay in bed, and I'd be like, do you remember what I wore like last Thursday? And we'd be like sitting there like writing it out, and she'd be helping me try to remember. And finally she goes, Rebecca with the words of wisdom goes, if we can't remember, do you think anyone else can? I was like, good point. And then I put the book away, never used it again. But I'm like, how dumb. Yeah. Like, I literally kept the calendar, and then I'd be like, oh no, I wore that 2 weeks ago, so I can't wear it today. I'm gonna have to wait another week.
That is dumb.
That's so funny. I have enough clothes that I wouldn't be able to repeat an outfit for probably 2 years. Like, I legitimately think about that all the time. But I mean, we're in the clothing industry. It just comes and goes, you know? I'm trying to think of something I did.
Maybe not going into my room and stealing my snacks.
I was just going to say, I lived the lap of luxury when Tara lived at home the first year of college, because she would...
It was my junior year.
She would go to class, and she had like a huge Pompazon chair. Is that what those are called? I think so. You had that, and she had a TV in her room, and she had a computer. And so I would go in there and use her computer to talk to my friends on AOL, on AIM or whatever. And then she had this big drawer of candy, and she had a mini fridge of pop. So I'd just go in there, chat with my friends, watch Friends on the TV, drink her pop, eat her candy. I don't know if you knew I was in there or not, but I I feel like you
didn't know
never
this until
noticed.
I literally didn't know this until you revealed it on a live like a couple of years ago. I had no clue. I was not aware.
Because sometimes I'd leave wrappers, but then I'd be like, oh, if I put them in the trash, then she's going to know. So I'm going to have to take my wrappers with me. But yeah, I used to live in Tara's room when she left. I was like, this room's awesome. She's got all the snacks, a TV, because we weren't allowed to have TVs in our room growing up. And yeah, I cannot believe it. I can't believe you didn't know until it was on a live. That's so funny.
I was like, so much makes sense now. Because I did notice that like snacks were missing, but I apparently didn't put two and two together that it was you.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty funny. I can't think of anything cringy other than like, if I think about disrespectful things I've done to mom and dad, that makes me cringe. Like just being bratty to mom or something like that. Because just in general now, I would never speak to her in that way or like get frustrated with her. That's the only thing I can think of that makes me like kind of my insides are like, ugh, you know.
But you didn't have anything like weird quirks that you did as a kid?
Oh, I used to suck on pennies. Isn't that disgusting?
It's really gross.
I actually just brought that up the other day, and I remember when mom found out and she was like, Kate, you're going to get sick. And I was like, I've been doing it for years, mom. And like, I would suck on them till all the stuff was gone till they'd be clear. Maybe we should cut this part out. That's disgusting. Isn't that awful? I was like 4 or 5.
Really building up your immune system back then.
Yeah.
Doing it for years, Mom. Did you think of anything?
I remember I think it was my senior year of high school. Or maybe it was junior year. I think it was junior year. I was in an AP art class, and it was like so bogged down with school that I didn't take the time to figure out what I wanted. Like we had this like 4-month-long project where you're supposed to choose a subject. Anything. Could have been anything. And I forgot to do that. And on the fly, I was like, oh, I'll just do road signs.
Why?
Road signs. I don't know. I panicked and just like picked something. So then I had to paint paintings
of road signs.
I still have like 2 of them in my basement. I'm like, what? I have like
That's
a
pretty
stop
funny.
sign. And that wasn't like my expertise back then. I did like portraiture. So I had to do road signs and submit that to the AP. Like,
did you get a good grade?
I passed AP. You only have to get like a 4 or 5 or something like that to pass the AP class. And I mean, it was art, so there's no reason why I wouldn't. But yeah, I don't know. Looking back on that, I'm like,
that's random.
Why?
Oh, is it my question now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, it's
this
mine.
is good.
Oh, yes, it's Whitney's.
What is your favorite smell?
I like the smell of like a fresh, clean house. Like when you walk in and it smells like lemony and maybe mixed with Clorox.
I love the smell of bleach.
Maybe it is
ammonia.
I think it's the feeling it gives me to know that the house is clean.
Yeah.
But I love like a clean smelling house.
Yeah. I love the smell of coffee, which surprises no one. But like, I feel like that's my earliest memory because mom made coffee every single day. And so I'd wake up to that smell. It's like just like comforting. Also, the church we went to always had like a coffee smell. So I feel like coffee is and maybe that's why I love coffee so much. It's very comforting to me.
I was going to say, do you guys know the smell of church?
Yeah.
I said that to mom the other day when we were walking into the lobby. I was like, doesn't it just smell like church in here? And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, it's like a mix of like building with coffee and then people's like soap perfume smell. It's like this, and it smells like morning. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like all 3 of those things together just smells like church. And she's like, you're right. It really does smell like church in here.
That should be like a candle because it's like
it should.
So comforting. Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about.
It's really funny. Okay, my next question is, what do you think people will say at your funeral?
Oh gosh.
Oh geez. So I feel like this gets real deep because I've actually thought about this.
Oh. Well, I guess you could say, what do you think they would say versus what you would hope they say?
No. Well, I know that my friends would say that I always came prepared with snacks.
Yeah. Yes.
Too much food. But no, when our aunt passed away, I just remember being so moved by her visitation and literally like the hours and hours and hours that people stood in line. There was over 1,200 people that came through her visitation. And there was the amount of people that each had a story of how she had impacted their lives was just like, it really hit me differently. And I took it as like a personal challenge to myself to be a better friend, a better sister, you know, someday a wife. But that was something that I just was like, you have no idea the impact that you're having on people until really, you know, might possibly be once you're gone. But I just like
Right.
the legacy that she left behind, like whether she would come and sit next to somebody in church, or she would talk to them at the lunch hour, or she would had sent them a letter. I was just like, I want to be that to people.
Mm-hmm. I'm not much of a extrovert, so I don't like connect with people on a massive scale by any means, but I do try to like make an effort to.
You're very
like,
intentional with your core
yeah.
group of people.
Yeah, and then also if I feel like the spirit's leading me to tell someone something, then I'm going to do it, even though it might make me look like a freak. Like,
No.
I think people will say you were hard to get a hold of on Sundays.
Sundays are for the Lord, and those are the Sabbath, and you're supposed to keep them holy and rest. And I do just that, guys. I do that.
I did text you this Sunday and said, "Whit, are you alive? Have you been excessively napping?"
Okay, wait. This was after daylight saving, so I had lost an hour of sleep. So naturally, that Sunday, I'm going to be asleep.
Well, also, you're hard to get a hold of on Saturdays. It's almost like Whitney's cell phone has office hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If it's 5:05, you've lost her. You just can't.
She's out.
The weekends, you might as well just write it off.
Starts packing up her stuff here at the office at like 4:58. She's just like, I'm ready. I got my backpack. As soon as it hits 5, I'm gone.
You're like a kid in the school when the bell's about to ring.
But like as soon as I get home, I've got Chi-Chi like up in my grill. Like she's literally nowhere, like she's always within at least 2 feet of me when I'm home. And so I'm always trying to like make sure I'm intentional with my kids when I get home instead of being on my phone. Or I mean, even if I am like on my phone or like reading or something, I'm still at least with them or in their vicinity.
My answer.
Question. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you hadn't gone. Sorry.
I'm just kidding. My answer would be, I guess I would hope that people said I always made them laugh, but I don't actually try to be funny. There's some people I feel like that are funny because they're witty and they're like really quick-witted. I don't find myself to be witty at all. Like I think that I'm goofy, but I wouldn't say that I'm like intentionally a funny person. But I would also hope that people you guys are just like,
so
yeah,
like,
right.
I'm not funny, but I hope people say that I am.
Yeah, basically. Well, I guess I would say that I hope that people always felt like I brought joy. Like that would probably be more what I feel like I bring to the table, is that like me and Phil talk about this all the time because my husband's very moody, and I've never like woken up on the wrong side of the bed. Like, you know what I mean? When people say that, I'm always like, what's that like? Like, I just don't know. I feel like I wake up and I'm the same person. I'm same Kate every single day. Like I have the same energy. I mean, if I don't feel good, maybe I'm like a little less, like dialed down a little. But for the most part, like when I'm around you, I'm pretty much like 100% myself, you know?
I think you are.
Yeah, like I feel like what you see is what you get. So I feel like I bring the same.
You might just be a little quieter before 7 a.m.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm not an early riser, but I could be if I wanted to be. That's the thing. I like as soon as I have kids, I'll be fine getting up early. So yeah, that's my answer. What's your next question?
If you didn't have your current job, what would you do?
Ooh.
And not like
Got my phone.
what would you like to do? Not like I would just be working at State Farm.
Oh yeah. I mean, I probably would be working at State Farm, let's be real.
So what would you like to be doing?
I really have liked graphic design. That's been really fun for me. Or photography. That's been really fun here. So an extension of what I'm doing here.
Just for somebody else.
Yeah.
What was your dream job if we hadn't like strong-armed you into doing this?
My dream job. I feel like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to be a teacher or something like that. But like when you get into, like when I was at State Farm, I had like 4 different jobs throughout the time that I worked there. And you realize there's like no perfect job. You know, there's a job is a job, and you might enjoy what you're doing. You might have like good days and you might have like bad days. So I don't feel like I have a dream job, but I am really enjoying what I'm doing now. And it doesn't feel like work. There are some good days and there's some pretty bad days, but it doesn't feel like work, so that's nice. So what I'm doing now, Tara, it's just a dream.
Mom actually asked me this question the other day, and I was saying there's a bookstore in Nashville that I really love. I mean, this is like money aside, because I feel like I probably wouldn't make very much money.
If money was aside, you would have gone out for the WNBA.
Yeah, pretty much. No, that was like a dream for 10 seconds in the 5th grade. Money aside, I was talking to my mom. There's this bookstore in Green Hills in Nashville called Parnassus, and it's owned by a famous author named Ann Patchett. And they just have, I feel like if you actually Google like top bookstores in the nation, it's always in the list because they have like huge selections and tons of author events. And I just feel like it's like a bigger version of the Shop Around the Corner from You've Got Mail, which is my favorite movie. It's like super dreamy. When Whitney comes next week, I have to take you because you'll love it.
I'm excited.
I know, it's so cute, and the people there are so sweet, and I feel like the selection they get is like, I mean, as good as Barnes & Noble essentially. But anyways, when I was in there, I was like looking around, and Mom was like, would you ever want to work here? And I was like, I would, but I feel like I'd also want to be at home reading the books that I was buying from my shifts. And she was like, yeah, you'd probably spend your whole paycheck just buying books. I was like, I know. So I thought it would be fun. She was like, well, maybe someday you guys can open a little bookstore like for like an extension of Royal and Reese. And I was like, yeah, put it on the list, Mom. But there's another bookshop in East Nashville that's connected to a coffee shop, and it's like super cute and like really dreamy and just kind of like the vibe you would want, you know, from bookshops and coffee.
Cozy.
Very cozy. But yeah, that's like, I mean, I'm sure that's like a hourly like part-time thing that people are doing, not necessarily like working there on salary. I'm not sure if they are, but it's a very picturesque type of work environment.
What about you, Tara?
Well, I think it's probably obvious.
Yeah, I don't even know why I asked the question. I already know.
Which is
party planning.
Mm-hmm.
An event planner. You know what I told Mom? I said if Royal and Reese never happened, you should have been a project manager.
A project manager?
Like for a corporate company. Like that's like, so project managers are like, they just oversee projects. I just hit my nose on my microphone. I just oversee projects. I don't actually know what they do, but I feel like with what I understand it to be, you'd be very good at.
I feel like if I was going into any corporation, it would probably always be in management of some kind, of like overseeing projects.
Yeah, projects.
But ideally, that's what I enjoy. Is actually, I think the hard part with event planning though is that if it's not my own event, then it's a little bit hard to just like pull off someone else's, because then you're having to fulfill someone else's vision. It was like with your birthday party, it was way more fun to do it because it was all my ideas and at my, my expense essentially to just like pull it together. Whereas like if you're doing wedding planning, it's a ton of weekends and you're also spending someone else's money. So it's just different, but I do enjoy that piece of it. And I have helped friends that have an event planning company. That has been something I've enjoyed. It's just like seeing the whole thing come together and just facilitating the event. So.
Okay, what is one thing that makes you feel... Wait, is it your turn or mine?
Technically. Keep going. Just go ahead.
This is my last question. What's one thing that makes you feel old?
Makes me feel old?
Yeah.
My gray hair and wrinkles make me feel
Seriously.
old.
There's a radio station here that they do this segment called Time Marches On, and they do that song, Time marches on, like, and they play it and then be like, what's one thing that makes you feel old? And I was like, I used to listen to that in my 20s and be like, nothing. And now I could think of like a million things that make me feel old.
I babysat a family in California that I basically nannied for. And when I started with them, they had twin boys that were 4, and they had a little boy that was 6, and then a daughter that was 8. And now the twins are literally like 24. And that makes me feel old because like I see them and they're like graduated from college and starting their careers. And I'm like, this is weird. I was actually just talking to Carter recently through like Instagram, because they're still 2 of them are in Chicago and they want to get together, and they were like, you are our favorite babysitter, you always like plan us like scavenger hunts and stuff. But I was like, it's so random that they're like, you know, full grown adults, like now fully in their careers and stuff. That makes me feel old. So because I don't feel that old, but I think it was the realization that when our babysitter was working for us, that she looks at me as being old. Like I look at her like my peer, just probably like Lisa looked at me as her peer, but I was thinking like I was like, oh, I have this older mom friend. You know, like, I didn't view her as like my peer, but I think it's like the same concept. Like I'm 40, she's 22, 23, whatever. Like it's the same age gap.
Yeah, I feel like my brain hasn't aged. Like I still feel like really immature.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like I can connect with like younger people really easily.
Yeah.
But they probably don't think the same about me. They look at hairs and wrinkles and think like, who is this middle-aged woman trying to be my friend?
But when does the mental shift happen? Because I was thinking like when we're at a family get together with like the extended family, we're still the kids, right? Like, so when do you go from being like the kids to the adults? Like we still don't like clear off tables because we're still the kids and we still sit at the kids table. So it's like, well, we're 40 now. So like when do you graduate to being like adult status?
I am not even in
40. In your own
I'm not 40 yet. You are. I am not. I have a good 5 years, Tara.
I was walking in the neighborhood that's behind us, and this was like the exact same thing. I was looking at this person's house and I was like, oh, I bet they have like the most picturesque like inside, and it's just like this family of like 45-year-olds, and they like I'm like, oh, I wonder when I'm gonna have that. And then I was like, my house is bigger than this person's, and I definitely like already own a house and a car. Like I was like, I don't understand why I'm thinking, what is that gonna happen for me? And I'm literally like doing the exact same thing one street over. And it was like the same thing where I'm like, oh, I wonder when I'm gonna feel like grown up, even though I already have a house and a car and like the whole family unit and stuff too. And every time like Phil walks by their houses, he's always like, we need a landscaper. Like he always talks about landscaping. But that kind of conversation makes me old, like insurance or landscapers or like lawn care. I don't know.
Well, what's weird to me to think about is mom and dad were like in their early 40s when they moved to California. I mean, if you think about how it's not that they seemed old, but they seemed like wiser at that point to be like moving across the country with like their kids and family and stuff like that. That's weird for me to think about, because that's like basically me now, and I don't feel like I'm where they were when they moved. Like, so that seems like strange when I start putting those puzzle pieces together. So that's
Mom also wore like sweater sets and dress pants every single day, so she just felt a lot older.
She had like the short hair, like Meg Ryan in You Got Mail.
Yes,
that definitely aged her.
California changed her.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I feel like she's aged backwards for the last 30 years instead of aged forward, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, she looks like a totally different person than when they moved to California, which is funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
Okay, so your next question?
Oh, yeah.
Because these are our last questions.
Yeah, these are our last questions.
Okay. 2.
What is an item on your bucket list?
A nugget ice machine.
Why do you keep bringing up that stupid ice maker?
Dream big, Tara. Dream big. Wow.
She was like, someday I want to have enough money where I could just like buy nugget ice makers to just have one, because that seems like you're making a stupid amount of money when you can buy a nugget ice maker. I'm like, I feel like you could afford that now. Like, aren't they only like $200?
They're like 5. It's like,
that is an expensive ice maker.
It feels like a big investment.
Where would you even put
That's what you call stupid money, when you have enough cash that you can just go buy a nugget ice maker just set on your counter.
I'm not sure
because you want Chick-fil-A ice.
I'm not sure if I want stupid money. It feels like such a waste.
Well, Okay, so that's another question for another day. Like, what would you do with stupid money? Because I have different thoughts on that too.
Okay.
Well,
But
Whitney would renovate her bathroom. She already told us.
she won the lottery.
My bucket list item is to renovate my bathroom.
It's funny.
It's funny.
Bucket list. It can be anything. It's not like travel related.
Could be anything.
Kate, do you have one? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I was going to say it would probably be travel related if I had one besides becoming a mom, but that's not really like a bucket list. I guess that's just like a life goal. But I got to do a couple of my bucket list items. On my 30th birthday, we went to Europe and we went to London and Paris, and I got to be I said before I become a mom I wanted to see the Eiffel Tower, and that was like such a cliche thing to say, but it was being in Paris like really changed me because I felt like I really appreciated like their pace of life because they're in no hurry whatsoever. I mean, Italy is like that too, but there's like no hurry whatsoever. And if you're like out of water and the waiter doesn't come around, like an American's response to that is like, why isn't this waiter bringing me more water? Where they're just like so leisurely and just like, why are you in such a hurry? You know, it's like the opposite, you know, kind of response to things. And so it was like a really cool experience to be in that city and experience like the way Parisians live. Not everyone there obviously is Parisian because it's very tourist heavy, but yeah, I want to go to Santorini. Ever since I read Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants in the 7th grade,
For real,
and then
though,
when I saw the movie,
you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my word, it's so picturesque. But if
Yeah.
you realize, if you look at Santorini from like above, you're literally in like a volcano crater.
right,
And like everything is like
so small.
black because
Right.
you're in a volcano pretty much. I mean, not an active one, but like in the crater. And then there's just like this little town that's white. It's
Right.
really weird. Anyways, I would love to go there. It's
So what's
beautiful.
Yeah.
I have always wanted to go to Venice in Italy
Mm.
and Paris. I've never been to Europe aside from, I mean, I don't think you can count London as Europe, but kind of. But I love like traveling, but my husband will not do
That's
it.
one thing that I don't have desire to do. We've talked about this though. I don't love traveling outside the US.
Because it's outside of your control. I feel like you have a
not being
control
able
thing.
yeah, I don't like not being able to speak the language.
Yeah.
That makes me feel very anxiety ridden.
Well, I have a funny story about that. So to make a long story short, I got a UTI when I was in Paris. So the first day we rode the train, it's called the Eurostar from London to Paris. You guys have heard the story. And I needed to like find a Walgreens or something because, you know, when you get one, it's like you kind of panic because you're like, what am I going to do? Now I would probably travel with prescription medicine going forward. But so we go to this, like what is Paris's equivalent of a Walgreens. And I Googled UTI on my phone and translate into French. And so I'm like trying to find like products, and this like pharmacist comes up to me and he's like, bonjour, and he's like asking me these questions in French, and then I just hold up my phone and I'm like point to like the Google, and he goes, in English, you have a UTI. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you would speak English. And he was like, we all speak English. And I felt so stupid. And then he's like switched from French to English, but he said, he was like, it was like that real, like, are you new here? Like, it was like, are you dumb? He was like, everyone in Paris speaks English, and it's a requirement because there's so many tourists, like from England or the States, or like, since it's the primary language of the world, like, I guess most foreign countries not are forced to, but it's encouraged for them to know English so that they can communicate with tourists, especially if you're going to work like in a tourist city. So that might ease your mind. When I was in Rome, they all spoke English too. Like, no, like every once in a while you'll get in an Uber where like the Uber driver doesn't, and it's like a little weird. Like you're just like, bonjour, merci, and that's like all you say. But then, yeah, I like learned like how to say like, where's the bathroom, and like a couple of phrases, but other than that, they don't.
Well, I went to France to visit friends when they were
Yeah.
living over there with Kat, and I just remember at the end of the trip, like I had spent the entire week just basically like blocking out all the conversation around me because I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
And they said it felt like I was sitting at the Tower of Babel because it's just like everybody's speaking
gosh.
gibberish around you. But when I got back into England, when I got back to London, I had a layover. And I remember it didn't dawn on me till I got off the plane and I was like sitting at a table, like ordering food. And all of a sudden I heard people talking next to me and it was like this like light went on. I was like, I can understand them again. Like it was just so weird how I'd spent the entire week literally like blocking out like you do like your kids sometimes, like all their noise. And it was so strange how it all of a sudden hit me. It's like, oh, now I can understand again. It was just like such a weird experience of not being able to understand people around.
When I was in England, I felt like I could pick up the accent really well when I was around it a lot. And there's a video of me. We like took our GoPro with us to Windsor Castle, and we'd gotten off of the subway, or what do they call it there? The tube? The tube. And I was trying to say Piccadilly Circus because that's like one of the stops. And then I like was like, we should go back and listen to my impersonations. And it was so bad. And in the moment, I thought that it was so on point. And Phil was like, it wasn't good there and it wasn't good here. Like it hasn't, you've never picked up the accent. But when I was there, I thought I was nailing it. Like I was like, and now the next stop is Piccadilly Circus. And I kept saying it like, oh my gosh, I'm nailing it. Like I sound so British. Like, and, like looking back with the GoPro footage, it was so cringy. I was like, oh my gosh. Not good. Not good.
We visited London. We went into a store with my friend, and it was so funny because as soon as people like they are like, oh, you must be from the States because they notice that you have an accent. But then when they repeat you back, they always do it in this like hick Southern drawl. Like that's how they think like Americans sound. It was so funny. We're like, that doesn't sound like me at all, but thank you. It's funny.
I'm sure that's the way they think when we try to say like bonjour or like something like a word that's like, or like hola to a Spanish speaking person.
Yeah. What's your bucket list item?
Traveling, remember. What was your favorite thing that you ate when you guys were, like, you were France? Well, you were everywhere. What was like the best thing you ate when you were there?
Like overseas in general?
Yeah, I mean, you've been to Rome, Paris, London, everywhere.
Israel. I went to Israel with my mom, and for her 60th birthday, because my dad was like too nervous to travel that far, and so I went with my mom instead. And we went up into the mountains of this like village called the name of the village people was Druze. They were the Druze, and I can't remember like the origin. But we went to this like what would be their version of fast food. Like I don't even know how to describe it because it wasn't like fast food, but it was like you get your food fast. That's the only, you know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I digress. They made this thing called Drew's Pita, where they made their own pita and they rolled it out and created this like Mediterranean dip, and then you would fill it with whatever fillings you wanted. It was like a real authentic kava. I like literally can't explain it, but it was like the most exquisite pita I've ever had. So I filled it with like cucumber tomato salad, and like they had chicken, and you could do like lamb or falafel. It was Mediterranean food is like one of my favorite things. I mean, the food in France was amazing. But I like cannot stop thinking about this Drew's Pita. And it was just like this, to them, it was just like a neighborhood, like family restaurant, but it was like such an experience. Anyways.
We had a couple things I don't remember tons in England. We had some amazing pasta one night that we went to like a restaurant where you know, same thing. You have a reservation, then you can stay all night. So it was like super slow paced and like really just cool ambiance and stuff like that. But the pasta I remember was fantastic. And then in France, we had macaroons that were really, really good. The gelato was fantastic. And we ate at this little like cafe that had a croque madame, where it's like sourdough like, and then the egg and
cheese
on
top.
Yeah, those are amazing.
Outside. Yeah, it's fantastic.
We went to when we were in London, I think we were in like Notting Hill area, and we went to this like Lebanese place. Oh my gosh, it was similar where it had like a pita, and then it had chicken in there. I think there was maybe even falafel. I don't even remember what was in it. But they grilled it in like a panini press, and it was literally probably one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. And I can't even remember what all was in it to even be able to recreate it.
Right.
But the girl that I was with, one of the girls I was with, loved it so much she went in and got another one. And she like, and then these things were like really big, but they were just so freaking good. I don't even know. I wish I could recreate it because it was so delicious. Also, they did have, it was like a chocolate orange gelato, not at this Lebanese place, but at another place in London, and that was fantastic.
Well, London's not really known for like a lot of specific food except for Caribbean and in Indian food.
Yeah,
I think
Indian
are like
food.
the two. And so
That's where I
there's a
had
place.
London is where I had the very first Indian food I've ever had before, and that was amazing. It was so spicy though.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. There's a place that like all of our friends love called Dishoom, and there's 2 or 3 locations. There's one. I just saw Brian walk by, just pulling orders. What's up, Brian? But we went there twice, and we were only in London for like 4.5 days. Like that's how good it was. We're like, we should just go back to Dishoom. It was so good. But yeah, I would say like London's food was decent, but it was more picturesque than it was like the food was good. Whereas I feel like I ate better food in Paris, probably, if I was going to compare to the two.
I would hope, because Paris is known for their food.
Yeah.
Did you have a croissant in Paris?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yeah, there was actually, this is kind of a unfortunate thing that I did, but there was an American run cafe in like right next to our hotel called Sia, and they made these breakfast like Dutch babies where you could make like, you could do like savory or sweet ones where you could get like fruit or like ones with eggs. And we went there every morning because they made like a traditional latte, and like nowhere in Paris would just make you like a to-go latte because you'd have to sit and like order it. But I wanted like an iced latte to go. Like they don't really have, well, they do have Starbucks, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like a cafe where you just run in and get a coffee and run out. So we would go there every day to get coffee.
Yums.
So
Okay, last question of the podcast today. If you could know the future, would you want to know what your future holds?
No.
I really want it.
I'm so anxious that if something, like if I knew that I was going to get cancer or something, I would just like spend the rest of my life being anxious about when I would get cancer. Like, oh no, it's coming.
True. I wouldn't want to know either. I really like, I'm not that person who needs to be prepared for things. I think that's like an Enneagram 6 that like they're like super prepared for everything that comes or like situational. And I'm more fly by the seat of my pants, like figure it out when it comes. So I would not want to know.
Yeah, I'm the same. I remember Mom saying that if we did know, it would change like probably completely how you would live your life and not necessarily for the better. And so that kind of spins into if you did find out that you only had like 6 months to live, how would you spend it?
Very anxious.
But like,
I've thought about this.
What would you
even
do?
with like the books that I'm reading? Like if I'm halfway through a book that I don't really enjoy, I'm like, there's so many books in the world. I'm wasting my time. Like I'm gonna like DNF books more frequently because I'm like, I only have so many years to live and so many books to read, and I'm wasting time on this one. Like I feel like that sounds really stupid, but that's a good analogy for life in general. Like sometimes I kind of drive myself crazy with that thought of like, how am I actually spending my time?
Yeah. I think the thing that gets me, and this is like mom guilt, but like they always talk about how the days are long and the years are short.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that you literally only have like so many years with your kids in your home.
Mm-hmm.
And like, how do you use that to its fullest?
Yeah.
Like not even the weekend and a summer break and spring break, but like, how do you live every day to its fullest? And I follow some people that are going through obviously some tough things or have just recently lost somebody, and they're always like, saying hug your loved ones or tell your loved ones that you love them. And it makes you like reflect on what would I be doing differently on the daily, or what would I let go of? We were watching this meme yesterday. It was just like, or this reel, it was like, I don't have time for your BS. I don't have time for it's profanity, but anyway, it was just talking about like this stuff, and I was like, it says shit over and over and over again, and I was laughing because I was like, it's so true. Like we just have like such trivial things to like fight over, when the reality is that there's like so much more going on, like to not waste our time over petty things. And so, but I think about that all the time with my kids, that like if I'm coming home in the evening and I'm tired and I'm just like basically getting to bedtime, like, how could I have used that time differently with them to really like get to know them as people and develop their, you know, personalities and all of those things.
That's one thing I really admire about our dad is that, like, if we're in a conversation that he's like in the middle of and we start talking about something even remotely and like dramatic, he disengages completely. Like, it's almost as if he doesn't hear it. Like, it's just like in one ear out the other, and his eye contact is broken and he's just like, it's like he cannot be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you've noticed
just, like,
that.
Get over it and move on.
Yeah, like he's just like respectfully disengaging because he doesn't want to hurt your feelings by being like, are you serious right now? Like the other day we were texting about something in our group chat and I just noticed that my dad contributed to nothing in the conversation at all, and like inadvertently ended up changing the conversation to something else. And that's one thing I feel like he's really good about is I remember being so stressed out about a paper in high school, and I think we've told this story before, but he came up upstairs and was like, this is a non-issue, like there's nothing to be stressed about. And he's like, he told the story about when he went bankrupt when I was 3, Whit was 6, and Tara was 10.
No, 9 years older.
12.
Sure.
And he just said, he was like, the most stressful moment of my life was when my company was taken from me and my house was taken from me. And he was like, when we were in that house that we like borrowed from a friend, he's like, I walked around and checked to make sure all 3 of you were breathing and that mom was breathing. And then I thought, I'm okay. And he was like, and until you go through something like as heavy or trivial as that, you shouldn't be stressed. Like, he was like, a paper is not worth your health. Like, he was just saying, like, there's so many things in life that aren't like worth stressing out over, but yet we like, you know, build it up to this huge thing in our mind and let anxiety take over. And like, anxiety is just like not a word in his vocabulary at all.
Well, and you think about how little, like how important high school and junior high seem like that they're just literally the pinnacle of your life at the time. And you realize, you know, being older and looking back, it's such a minute piece of your life, and that this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. I remember, well, with us going through almost that situation a few years ago, right when COVID hit, like I did the same thing. Like Isaac came up and gave me a hug, and I was like, this is really all I need. Like, I know I'm always going to have him, regardless of if we have to live in our parents' basement. Like, you know, like stuff can happen, but as long as you've got like your family and you've got God, you don't really realize what an impact that makes on your life until you're in that position. If you've never been in a position where you're like, we're gonna lose everything, but I still have my family,
right?
You know,
I remember sitting in Tara's office, and that's a story for another podcast. We were sitting in Tara's office and we all like surrendered the business and just prayed, like, if it's supposed to still happen, it will, and God's the only person that can control it. And we all just like looked at each other in defeat, and then Whitney's head went down. She's like, I don't want to live in Mom and Dad's basement. Like, her head was just like, we all were like crying, and we're like, me either.
But here's the thing. I knew that if that were to happen, that like we'd still have the support system, you know, I'd still have a place to live. Right. It's not ideal.
Yeah. Could you imagine if we all lived there?
Oh my word. Mom and Dad would be like
all the time.
Okay.
They'd be like, you guys can stay here. We're moving out. So
be like, we're gonna go to California,
get a place down the block
a little bit.
Pretty funny.
Well, on that note, I feel like that's probably ended our Sisterhood Understood piece too.
Yes.
Got a little bit touchy-feely with our emotions right there at the end.
That's what we're good at.
So thank you for being a part of Sisterhood Society. We hope that you will join us for the next episode. And if you would love to follow us or subscribe or like or leave us a review or rate us, or if you're going to leave us a 1-star, please don't take your time to do that.
Yes. You know, life's too short. Life is too short. You have better things to do.
Yes.
So, you know, use your time more valuable than giving us a 1-star.
But we appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. It's been super fun for us.